There's been a lot of talk about the complete lack of originality when it comes to new media. No genre is safe from this criticism, whether it be within action movies, dramatic television, or the genre we'll be discussing today, anime. Anime has, in my opinion, been especially stagnant as of late. With only a few bright spots here and there, anime is either impossible to penetrate, filled with world-building stories, moe stereotypes, and in general the same stories we've seen since 2005. And yet, Tiger and Bunny, while it doesn't fall into any of the aforementioned categories, is also completely unoriginal. It takes shamelessly from American superhero comic books and molds them together into what you see here today. But does it work? Suit up as we take a look at Tiger and Bunny. To be frank, because of how jaw-droppingly good this DVD looks, I'm actually a little upset that Viz didn't send me a Blu-ray. But before I sound completely ungrateful for getting a free release before it's out, allow me to explain. The DVD is absolutely amazing in the visual department. It's sharp, it's bright, it's colorful. It even fooled me a couple of times into thinking I was actually watching a Blu-ray. I actually had to go look for errors and artifacts, and while I did find them, they're so minimal, they really aren't even worth mentioning. In fact, sight unseen, I'm willing to bet the Blu-ray has a pristine transfer of the highest caliber for this release. Audio is crisp and clean, but it's unexciting. These Dolby 2.0 tracks get the job done and not much else. I was torn on the score for this one because there are issues with the transfer and the audio isn't exactly mind-blowing. But because the transfer is so good, I really wanted to ignore these issues. Since I personally don't do decimal scores, I decided to hand out our first ever 10 out of 10 in the video and audio category. The score is more like 9.5, but the problems are so minimal I stand by my 10 by 10. Continuing from what I said in the intro, Tiger and Bunny is a completely unoriginal show. It's stolen from Watchmen, Superman vs. the Elite, and many others. Even the seemingly original product placements in the show, which I'll get to later, come from Mystery Men. All of these elements come together into one show and somehow feel fresh and unique. Tiger and Bunny takes place in a world where superheroes exist, and their superheroics are televised live as for a game show or some kind of sports event. Even sporting real-world sponsor logos like NASCAR. These heroes are actually just regular human beings with powers granted to them, as being a part of the next stage of evolution dubbed Next. We follow the superhero team Wild Tiger and Barnaby Brooks Jr. as they go out and selflessly risk their lives to save people, rack up points, and keep their sponsors happy. Tiger and Bunny has a wonderful cast of diverse characters rarely seen in anime. There are black people, Asian people, white people, straight guys, homosexual men, tomboys, old guys, young girls, young guys, old ladies, the list goes on and on. And while a couple of stereotypes are played for laughs, at least to me, it didn't feel offensive since the whole world is a bit over the top and cartoony. And luckily, the main character is a rarity of his own. Kotetsu, who dons the mask of the Wild Tiger, is quite a rarity as far as anime protagonists go. In the past couple of years, anyone, feel free to tell me about a middle-aged widower with a daughter being the main character in an action anime. Anyone. Seriously, I'm drawing blanks. Usually protagonists in anime seem to be young 15 to 19-year-olds in high school, but Kotetsu stands out. And luckily, he steals every scene he's in because he is the underdog. You can't help but root for him. Barnaby, the other main character, is basically the complete opposite. Nicknamed Bunny by Kotetsu, Barnaby is a cool, young, suave, and hip superhero. He seems to know the answer to everything in rather pompous fashion and gets all the attention. And thank God the show isn't about him because we would be so bored. He is simply the straight man to Tiger's lovable, out-of-touch old man routine. Can these two get their act together and fight the bad guys? In a word, Tiger and Bunny is fun. It isn't deep, it's not thought-provoking. It isn't original to anyone who's read American comics or seen superhero movies, but all of that doesn't matter when the show is having so much fun. The characters are engaging, the story's fun, And even though the show has its moments of comedy, those moments come from a real place, and it's not self-parody like a lot of anime seems to do lately. The story is taken 100% seriously, it pays off emotionally, and it never takes the audience for granted by treating them like idiots. This is a smart story. This is one of those shows that kind of anybody can get into. Even if you don't like anime, it's just a lot of fun. It doesn't matter which version you listen to, English or Japanese, the quality of both is spectacular. Again, Kotetsu is the center of the show, and both Hiroaki Hirata and Wally Wingert knocked this performance out of the park. Special recognition must be made to Wally because, as far as I can tell, this is his first lead role in an anime, and man, he was an inspired choice. Both Hirata and Wingert put the passion needed into this role, and the results show. A lot of credit should also go to Jamie Simone and Suzanne Goldish, the ADR directors on the dub, because this is one of the best dubs I've heard in a while. Overall, I can't find too many faults with this show. It's a great hit, and if you allow me to get on a mini soapbox to speak to Viz directly for a moment, you guys have a huge hit on your hands. As soon as it's done on Neon Alley, please get it on Toonami. The fans will eat this show up. With that out of the way, the faults with the show are once again so minimal, I have to award it our first ever 10 out of 10. Overall, this release is weak on the extras, just some production art, trailer, not much to cover, but it makes up for it with the video quality and the quality of the show. There are flaws here, the lack of surround sound and the lack of extras, but again, the presentation and the show are so strong, I actually feel bad about not giving the show the score it deserves. So just to be clear, there are flaws with this release, but I feel strongly about the show and stand by my score. Tiger and Bunny Season 1 receives a 10 out of 10. And that'll do it for our review. Thank you so much for listening. Please visit our website at geekyinc.com, follow us on Twitter at geekyinc, and like us on Facebook. Feel free to leave a comment below and like the video. Thank you so much for all your support, guys.